Hey Spuddies, PotatoMcWhiskey here, and welcome to Let's Play Civilization 6 as Scythia in the tutorial series for completely new players. Okay, there is, okay, people were complaining that I wasn't doing my intro enthusiastically enough. There is my, like, football announcer or whatever, or fake YouTuber version of my intro, okay? So I'm going to take a moment here. I would like to attack this scout because this guy could use a level, and it's a pretty easy fight for me to win. So I just want to get that little bit of experience over here. That's the main objective with this guy. And if I get this killed, not only will I get the experience, I will also heal, which is pretty nice. Right, so we are continuing to bring our settler down here. Now, why are we settling here? We are settling here. Even though there's a negative loyalty penalty, a -3 is not a big deal. But by settling over here, we will be exerting loyalty pressure. And I think it's probably worth it to take a moment to explain how loyalty pressure works. The first thing you're going to know is that how much loyalty pressure you generate depends on the age that you are in. So we are in a normal age, which means that our citizens produce 1 loyalty. If we were in a golden age, our citizens would produce 1.5 loyalty. And if we were in a dark age, our citizens would produce 0.5 loyalty. How does that loyalty work? Well, basically, you take the population of the city, you multiply it by this number, in this case, 4 population, multiplied by 1 is 4. If we were in a dark age, it would be 2. And if we were in a golden age, it would be 6. And then the pressure extends out from the city, decreasing by 10% every tile that it moves. So, for example, the pressure that Issyk exerts on its own tile is 4. On this tile, it's 3.6. On this tile, it's 3.2. Then on this tile, it is 2.8, 2.4, 2... Right, so that's 5 tiles away. It exerts half its population in pressure in a normal age. So that kind of hopefully gives you a basic idea of how it works. I need to deal with this madness that's going on in here. I really hope that you are not coming this way. Okay, so we built the quarry over here. Now I'd like to go and chop this forest right here. And the reason I'm choosing to chop this forest is because it is on a hill. Chopping this forest on a hill would mean I will be able to place a mine there and essentially get the same production level. So basically, let me explain that a little bit more in detail. If I were to chop this tile right here, it is a flatland tile. So I would not be able to put a mine on that tile, which would mean I would be essentially stripping any potential production from this tile, and I would only be able to use it to place districts or farms. And the most important resource in Civilization 6 is production, is how much things you can produce. If you can produce more things, you can get anything, right? It's sort of the production is like a currency, except it is a currency that you can't store. It is a currency that you use to buy things, which is different from gold, which is a currency that you use to buy things. It's used a little bit differently. It is an income that you use to create other things. So production can be transmuted into any resource that you need. And so that's why production is really, really important. So that is why if I were to chop this tile and put a lumber mill here, I would end up with a tile with 2 food and a tile with 2 food for production. However, if I chop this tile and put a mine here and then lumber mill this tile, it is technically more charges, right? But it ends up with a more efficient tile layout. So this would be 2 food for production in the late game, and this would also be 2 food for production in the late game. So by carefully managing how you execute the upgrades and downgrades to your empire, you can get some really good outcomes. Similarly, I might chop this hills tile, although I do like the idea of maybe putting some lumber mills on jungles later on in the game. So thankfully, I'm getting help from the AI to clear this barb camp. I did not see where that settler went. I'm really hoping that they are not going up here, because that will be very upsetting to me that I got cock-blocked there a little bit. I'll still be able to kill it, I guess. So we finished our settler. We're about to get military tradition. We have basically everything that we want online, with the exception of this warlord's throne. -5 loyalty is still fine. This city will grow very, very rapidly, and it's on a river. And if you can grow a city rapidly, it'll be able to defend itself from loyalty pressure. So now I have to ask the question, am I ready to expand and make horses. Well, let's take a look at the situation. We're about to get the Warlord's Throne. We're about to get military maneuvers. There is an argument to stop off here and grab a watermill really quick before I get truly started, because this will give me extra production. So I am going to quickly grab a watermill in here, because that's going to give me a tech boost for construction, which is something that I definitely want. And if I start building units, I won't be able to get that in a reasonable amount of time. Now I want to pick up masonry, because I'm heading towards castles, and that's why I'm getting the tech boost, right? Because I want to get to watermill, and then I want to get to castles pretty quick. So this is the only way I can speed this up without building a campus. So that's kind of the logic there. I'm going to take a moment to heal on this scout. I think it's good to occasionally stop off and let your units get a bit of health. There's military tradition. Now we are going to plug out discipline. We're no longer really bothered about fighting barbarians. We're going to pass that stage of the game. And I'm no longer settling. So we'll pop that out. I could, if I wanted to, plug that into there. But I think a far more interesting thing to do would be to plug in the strategist card so I can get multiple great generals rolling. This essentially doubles how fast I get great generals. Okay, so we have all the basic stuff that we want. So let's think about how we advance forward. So for example, the Courser is a medieval era light cavalry unit, which means we want to get chivalry, which is allows us to build medieval industrial era and earlier light cavalry units. So that would be a good card to get, because it would apply retroactively. So we could head to monarchy, but there are some other really, really nice things. For example, mercenaries would allow us to get the professional army card, which would give us a gold discount, and also lead us potentially towards exploration. It also goes through feudalism, which is nice for builders. I think military training is a pretty good one to pick up, because it gives us the ability to raid more efficiently, which is extra yields from pillaging. Right, and that's an important thing, because we're going to be using light cavalry, and one of the light cavalry promotions is that they can pillage more easily without using up all of their movement points. So I think going for raid here is fine, because that pushes us in the direction we want. We don't really want mysticism, except for maybe the envoys we could pick up. We could pick up some envoys here. Let's see here. Is there anyone who... Actually, if I could get suzerainty of Hattusa, that would give me access to iron, which would allow me to pick up... So in this particular situation, right, I already have 2 envoys with Hattusa, so I only need 1 more to get suzerainty. And Hattusa's unique bonus is it provides you with 2 of each unique resource, of each strategic resource per turn that you have revealed but not improved. And we have revealed iron but not improved it, so if we get suzerainty of Hattusa, we will get access to iron. So that is why I'm considering that as an option. Now, -5 is still fine. We're going to chop here. However, I wanted to chop out a builder, because by using a builder charge, I get 3 more builder charges with which I can use on other things. And it still speeds up the Warlord's Throne by a significant amount. And now I can go and tidy up some of these jungles, perhaps. For example, I would maybe do these 2 jungle hills. Let's sort of plan out. I'm definitely going to want to work that and that. The city definitely needs housing to keep improving. So you could argue to stop off for a granary here. Very easily you could make that argument and I would listen. Because if I can get the population of this city up, it will be more productive. We're not really in a huge rush to get Warlord's Throne. Like, we're not super rushing for that. And partially also, by chopping jungle, you get food, which will force the city to grow anyway. Your job is to explore in here and just reveal whatever you can about this area. He wants to buy some of my horses. I'm not really open. I'm planning on declaring war with him, so I don't want to like open any trade deals with him. We're going to settle on the spices. Okay, she's happy that we did not settle coastally. Now this city is having a little bit of a loyalty problem, which means we either want to get a monument or a granary. So we'll grab the granary first. I would like to place a campus in here. There's some good campus spots. And I think I will place it on this Plains Hill right here. But we will get the monument first. So this will be a city that we use to sort of propel our empire. We have now our very first great general, and we can also create a great work of art here if we wanted to. This warrior can now come this way. We are going to chop this tile to boost the granary. That will finish it in one turn. Now if we look at the tiles that the city needs to work, it's working some pretty okay tiles. I could put a mine here, which would turn this into a 2-2 tile, which would make it a 4 yield tile, which would make it a little bit better for working. So I think I will go ahead and plop in there and put that mine right there. And that makes it, I believe, better than this jade. And now we finished the granary in a single turn by chopping, and we also forced the city to grow a little bit. We're only 3 turns away from hitting pop 5, which means working more tiles, which means more growth, which means more districts, which means more everything. We cleaned out this barb camp. Hopefully I can wipe it out before any new barbarians appear. Clean that up and we get a little bit of era score, which is very nice. Then we are going to settle right here. Now we're going to work on Warlord's Throne. The city will continue to grow now that it has spare housing and a bunch of extra food. We're going to chop this next jungle again to try and force the city to grow and force this Warlord's Throne to finish sooner. The Great General isn't doing anything for that archer because the archer is an Ancient Era unit and no Great Generals boost Ancient Era units. Okay. What I might do is I will step back a tile to bait the Slinger across the river, because attacking across a river has a +5 combat strength, which means this thing is twice as strong as it should be. So I step back, it'll come across, and then I can attack it for almost double the damage. I'd also like to maybe bring this scout up to help clear that barb camp. We have our settler in position purely for loyalty pressure when we conquer some of these cities, and also providing us with a little bit of infrastructure on the front line. We're going to chop here to finish the Warlord's Throne as well as force growth. You can see here, when I chop this resource, it will give me 28 food and 28 production. And I'm chopping on the hills because I know for a fact that I can put new tiles back on those hills to take care of the lack of yields. Whereas if I were to chop the flatland, it would be a little bit harder. So you can see we forced growth. The city will grow in 5 turns now, and this will complete in 6 turns. What tiles are we working? I think it's perfectly reasonable to work food while you have spare housing. So I'm okay with this current layout. I would like to drop a tile improvement somewhere, perhaps on one of these hill tiles to get a little bit more. There is actually, if we're looking at sort of future planning of this city, there's actually a really, really nice industrial zone here. Because if we go look at industrial zones in the tech tree, the industrial zone gets +1 from quarries, +1 from 2 districts, +1 from the government plaza, +1 from every 2 mines, and +2 from every lumber mill, as well as aqueducts, baths, canals, dams, and strategic resources. So if we count up what's going on in here, it would get +1 from the government plaza, +2, plus another one for the 2 districts, because those are counted as separate instances. It would get +1 from the quarries. That's already +3. If we placed it here, we would get another +1 from the horses. So this is already a +4 industrial zone, which is pretty damn good. This could be an industrial zone in the making. And then we just maybe like slap a couple districts or something to round it out. But this is a potentially good tile right here with regards to making industrial zones. So I think I will put attack here to remind myself that I might put an industrial zone right there, because it's a pretty good spot. It gets a decent amount of adjacency and production is very, very useful. Okay, knowledge of construction has advanced. We got our watermill. And ancient walls, pyramids, battering rams, harvesting of stone. There's mysticism. So mysticism gave me an envoy. Some civics give you envoys. That's important to keep track of how you want to navigate your thing. You can see this gives me an envoy, this gives me a governor title, this gives me an envoy. So we're going to go ahead and plop in here and stick that in Hattusa, which will give us iron income, as well as giving us an ally in the form of Hattusa over here, who's nice and safe, and we can keep them protected and not get killed during a war. And Hattusa will generally make our campuses better, and we do plan on building campuses at some point. Now it is time, perhaps, to place my second district. Probably should have been done already. And, you know, at any point I could have gone for some of these things. But I think it's time to get ready to actually go to war. So we're going to get some horsemen. I'm really tempted to harvest another one of these tiles to finish this faster, to let me... What if I build ancient walls in my capital? If I build ancient walls, this will finish about the right time. Yeah. So I'm going to build ancient walls here because I want to delay this because I want to get another governor thing to get the free promotion. So I think that's what we're going to do. We'll go ahead and pick up construction because we want to go to castles. And we will get to work on military training, which requires us to get games and recreation. And we are working on the construction technology. I might actually divert away from games and recreation to get this boost. It's just a more efficient way to navigate through the civic tree. So I'll just kind of tech away from that for a moment while we're researching construction, because construction will give me the boost for games and recreation. Okay. That all right here? Now, Kuloba, its entire existence is as a infrastructure city, so probably something like a trade route, commercial hub, to try and increase the number of trade routes I can get. Alternatively, we could just work on basic infrastructure. I will place... There's also a +6 campus here, which is really good. But we will work on... Yeah, we'll get that campus up because that'll allow us to tech to coursers really, really fast. The city's job is basically just to give us loyalty pressure and exist. That's its job. It doesn't have like a specific goal. It just is meant to be there. So it looks like the slinger did not follow us over. That's fine. We'll try to cross the river and approach from a different direction. And we'll bring the scout up to assist as well. We're going to talk to Dido, and since I want to just know a little bit more about her land, I'm going to ask her for mutual open borders. She will demand a bit of cash from me. I am willing to give you like 20 gold. Maybe 15 gold. That was meant to be 15, but a little bit more. Looks like she'll take 18 gold for this mutual deal, which will allow me to explore her territory and get a better idea of what I need to do to attack her. So now we have full knowledge of Dido. That's really, really useful information. Hopefully I can bait the slinger over to attacking my scout. We will take a heal on the scout for now, to keep him nice and safe in terms of his health. Where did you come from? We're going to place a mine right here. That'll give me the boost for apprenticeship, which gives me some era score. It also gives me a tile that is worth working. The city is about to grow, so we don't need to force work that. I'm going to attack with the scout to lower the health of this guy, so the warrior can kill him very easily. Something I want to point out here is this number right here. 7 population is a really important number to get to. But when you have the max, it's important to get to because it unlocks another district. When you have a max population of 7 and your population is 6, what that means is essentially every food tile in this city is halved in value. You can see here the housing multiplier is 0.5. If I go over to Prokhorovka, there's no negative housing penalty, so the housing multiplier is only 1. I'd actually like to maybe see if a city has like a whole bunch of housing, maybe a slight buff, like even if it was like for every house that's like in surplus, it would be like just like maybe a 5% growth boost. That would be pretty cool. I mean, stacking housing would be pretty fun then. But anyway, that's sort of more of an idea. So the housing multiplier is the housing multiplier comes into effect at 6 when you are 1 population away from growing to the maximum population of the city. And so what that means is working this rice, it's actually only worth 2 food. So if you imagine you go through this city, and as long as you're fully feeding the city, any of these food tiles are worth half as much. So even though this is 4 yield, it's actually only worth as much as 2 yield. So we would actually be better off working any other yield in this city. For example, 1 food, 1 production, right? It will slow down how fast the city grows, but food is not what's limiting the growth of the city, it's housing. So in order for this city to grow efficiently, we need to get housing in here. So I'm better off trying to maybe find or purchase a tile with a higher yield. So for example, I would maybe purchase this tile right here if I had the cash. I don't have the cash, but I would maybe do that. So instead, I'm going to work a production tile, which gets me, like, my city has reached its maximum growth potential, and I already have a balanced amount of food, right? You want to have... Here's... the sort of easy calculus you want to do when you are at your growth, at your housing limit. And when and the limit isn't 7. The limit is whatever your housing limit is minus 1. So I'm at my housing limit in the city. So what I want to do is just make sure that every citizen is working at least 2 food on average. And I don't want to work extra food because that extra food is being converted inefficiently into growth. So let me explain that a little bit more. If I go to this stone, for example, it's working 2 food. These are working 3 food, but this tile is working 1 food. So the average across these 2 tiles is 2 food. So this is acceptable. This is 2 food, this is 2 food, this is 2 food, and I get 2 food for my capital, which will give me a very small amount of growth, right? So if I go and look at this tile, it's 4 food, which I don't want to work. So I want to be working just on average 2 food per tile, which means because the capital gives you 2 food, you can actually work 2 of these 1 food tiles off the capital, no problem. So I could actually even justify working this tile because it's even better, right? Because it gives me 2 production compared to the 1 to 2 food, 1 production. Yeah, sure, it slows down how fast I'm growing, but the food isn't the limiting factor in growth right now. It's housing. So I want to work. If you want to work things efficiently, make sure you do it that way. Just a small tip that a little bit of micromanagement of your empire can actually go quite a long way. Let's see if we can't get rid of this scout who's going to maybe cause me a problem. Now I have a builder charge in here. Let's have a look around and see what we could do. We're about to get watermills. And I think watermilling... What I could do is maybe chop this, because it's a hill, and get a builder in here to do a little bit of tile working. So I might send you down there. One little tip that I like to use is using my builders to actually make other builders, because it just makes the decision of like, can I afford to get a builder way easier? You just turn one build charge into more builders, and then like that like decision-making process is so much easier, because it's just like, well, I can use one build charge to get another builder, so like that's a really easy decision to make. So now we have the final governor title that we wanted from building the building in here, the Warlord's Throne, because when you build a building in the government plaza, you get a governor title, which means that we can promote Magnus with Embrasure. So now that we have this Embrasure thing, we can finally get to the business of making an army in Prokhorovka. And in fact, actually, I have, because I have walls here, this thing can shoot. Do I want to get the experience on you? It's not very much experience. Now, I have all these scouts hanging around too, so it could be worth it for me to get machinery and use skirmishers, because these scouts leveled up are quite useful. I have 3 scouts hanging around who have basically discovered everything they can discover until I have, you know, ocean walking. So we're going to go ahead and, well, ocean walking. We're going to go ahead now and start actually building the army that we are going to kill the Khmer with. So now we're starting to work on the horsemen. Now this city has finished its important things. Now we could also build horsemen in here, but it's more efficient to build them in here in Prokhorovka. And what we want this city to do is to build supporting infrastructure for our empire. Supporting infrastructure would be something like a campus or a commercial hub. I already have 2 campuses planned, one up here and one up here. So I'd really like to get a commercial hub to help fund my army, because gold is going to be important. I would also, you know, more encampments would be great, don't get me wrong. But there's sort of 2 ways you can go about this. You can either go commercial hub to get the gold, or you can do an encampment and then work the citizen tiles inside the encampment to get the gold to feed an army. In this instance, I actually kind of like the appeal of going for the encampment to do the thing. However, I don't really have any open tiles, whereas if I could put a commercial hub here, it would be just a little bit better. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a builder to chop this forest to place the commercial hub here. You always want to, if you're going to place a district on a feature like a forest or a jungle or a bonus resource, you always want to make an effort to harvest it before you put the thing down. Even if it slows down how quickly you get it, it's just a more efficient way to play. Now, if you really need that district placed like right now and get it started right now, then it's okay to crush those things. But generally, if you're trying to be just that little bit more efficient, don't be afraid to delay what you're trying to build a little bit to chop out that resource, because it only takes me 1 chop to get this cleared. And then I have 2 extra chops, right? I have an envoy here. And I'm going to put this envoy in Valletta for a very specific reason. I am building military units in my capital, okay? Well, I'm building units in general. But Valletta, when I put 1 envoy into Valletta, Valletta will give me +2 production in my capital when producing units, and my capital is where I'm building the horsemen. So I will put 1 envoy into Valletta and get the +2 production. And there you go. Now I am producing even more efficiently. You'd see here +2 from modifiers if I click this. Or, sorry, it was not the +2, it's down here. +4 towards units. That is because I have envoys in the militaristic city-states. And I almost have the iron to actually upgrade the swordsman. And that's not going to be completely useless. It's sort of mildly not super useful, but it's not useless. I'm going to start seeing if I can bring my scouts back to get upgraded into the correct unit. The, what you call them? Skirmisher? So we just got the civic boost for mercenaries. We almost researched construction, which is going to boost games of recreation. We built a horseman in here. And so we shall send them on their merry way towards Kul Oba. And I'm thinking about 6 horsemen should be enough. Usually you don't need like a huge army, but about 6 horsemen should be enough. So we should be ready to attack here very soon. Now, what I'm not trying to show you here is like the fastest way to do this. I'm just trying to show you sort of how you can approach the game's mechanics in a way to sort of get to a goal. This is not the fastest way you can do this. There are actually attacks where you can have horsemen hitting your enemy by like turn 40 to 50 if you really want to. But this is more of just a way for a player who's maybe playing at a prince level can just kind of learn to navigate their way through the game's mechanics at their own pace. Alright, so we're going to actually do a switch here to a builder, chop that builder, finish that builder, and then I can use this builder to improve this territory. By doing that, the builder essentially only costs us 1 turn of production. Okay, there is drama and poetry. I don't think I want to change any of this stuff. Later on, as the war progresses, we will be making changes to this. I could, for argument's sake, stick in Great Rider points if I wanted a Great Rider. This is not super high value to me right now. What may be of higher value would be Caravanseries, because I'm going to need gold. Charismatic Leader would have been good. It would have been nice to have Diplomatic League in when I sent that envoy, but this is like an optimization that I don't think is like super really important to play around. It is a good optimization for you to get into the habit of doing, but I didn't want to like when I sent the envoy to Valletta, I should have maybe waited for me to be able to plug in Diplomatic League and then sent the envoy. Like that would have easily been more efficient. That's just not an optimization that I think is like super duper important, but it is a good optimization that if you get into the habit of doing, it can be a big part of your game. I'm going to plug in Caravanseries here because I would like that little bit of extra gold. Having an army is expensive, and we already have a great general. I accidentally clicked on my builder. I did not mean to click on my builder there. I was trying to click on my horseman and my brain just didn't update quickly enough. It's okay. Then we go back to making horsemen. Again, I want to have like a 6-ish horseman would be a good number. Now that we are one turn away from finishing construction, I'm going to work on games of recreation because that will get boosted, and then I can get to military training a little bit quicker, which will give me an envoy. It'll also push me in the direction of mercenaries, which we definitely want to pick up. I'd also like to maybe get feudalism boosted, and because that's the only thing standing between me and mercenaries, which makes it really cheap to upgrade units. So how would I plot out those farms? Well, I would look around and see where I maybe want to place farms. I could maybe, after getting these horsemen, I could grab another settler and throw it up here in this direction, and then just drop a bunch of farms up here. That is an option. I could also opt to get rid of these jungle tiles and put it in a farm triangle. That's something I'm considering right now, actually, in all honesty. So we're going to move in here for the chop, but I'm not going to place the commercial hub because that would get rid of the forest. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work on something else that I also want. I could, for example, get another builder, which would allow me to continue to develop my territory. Like, and whether or not you want to get a builder, it's going to be often you got to ask yourself the question, like, do I need another builder? Do I have tiles that are unimproved? There's an unimproved tile here. I already have a builder. Can I use that builder to accelerate this city in some way? Can I use this builder to do something important? Now, this will give me extra food and extra production over the course of the game. So that's pretty valuable over the long haul, considering it's pretty early in the game. So I'll pick that up and we'll chop it out. Alternatively, you could easily justify getting another archer. Actually, there is a technology over here, and I do want to boost machinery. So you could very easily make the justification of building an archer here and building a second one as well. So I will get these 2 archers to form another part of my army. We finished the monument over here in Berserk, and we're going to get to work on the campus. It'll take us about 15 turns. We want to get these campuses up because the more science that we have, the faster we can get castles, which is a sort of later game technology. Okay, let's go ahead and send our scouts over, because we might stop off for machinery first. We'll think about it. Just heal this guy up. Okay, there is lumber mills, so we have the option to place lumber mills if we want. I heard a barb camp appear. And it appeared up here. Let's send a scout to go deal with that. We will chop out this archer. Chop. Now we will place the commercial hub. But we're actually going to get a second archer in here, because we want to get the two more archers. I already have one archer. We want to get the boost for machinery. I could immediately start working on castles, which I think is an okay thing to do. You could make an argument to go for engineering, but I think I want to work straight on castles. There's some stuff over here that I could pick up, being able to clear marshes, fishing boats, all that sort of stuff. But I'm gonna go straight for castles, because the sooner we get it, the better. So now that we have Sun Tzu plus these cavalry, they have a total of 5 range movement, which is really, really good. We will probably be hitting Anchor Thom, which is his capital. And then looking to hit Indra Pura and then come back down to clean up down here and then hit Dido. My troops are merely passing by. I lie. So these guys all have promotions, which is really nice because it means they'll be able to take damage and immediately promote. So for example, the promotion tree here is the pillaging costs only 1 movement. That is why we were researching games of recreation, so that we can research military training, which gives us access to the raid card, so that we can pillage all of his tile improvements, all of his districts, and get a bunch of value out of it. There are times you don't want to pillage when you're conquering someone, but you know, pillaging is just an interesting mechanic that players might want to take advantage of, so I thought I would show it off. Let's go ahead and get to work on the commercial hub. And generally, you can kind of tell how much military power you need to kill somebody by telling what their military strength is and what the average garrison strength of their cities are. So he looks like he's like about 10, 28. So it looks like if he's got 28 military power, that is about the strength of a chariot, right? So we can expect, see the military strength here, melee strength, 28. So we can expect a chariot is about the strongest unit that we're going to run into. And this is another little trick we can do. We can actually walk through his territory, since this is really bad terrain, and we can just position ourselves over here so we have an easier time when the war actually comes. Now I've got 2 build charges that are quote-unquote spare. What I could do is opt to harvest the stone. Stone on flatland is a little bit weak in my opinion. It is a little bit better since the June update, but it's still worth chopping, I think. The question is, if I chop this stone on the flatland, is this tile doing anything better once I chop? I think actually the argument would be reversed here. It would be another 2 food 2 production tile, but I think the important thing here is to get over to this hill and improve it so that I'm making a little bit more production in this city. I'm going to use this scout for exploring, because there's likely to be more barb camps up here that I can clear for gold and era score. And there they are. So I'm going to opt to chop this. For 2 reasons. It will finish these horsemen a turn earlier, which is always nice, which means I can get the war started potentially a turn earlier. But it will also it'll also push me to be able to put the farms down here that I want to put down in order to push towards the feudalism bonus. So in terms of what I want to build in here, being able to clear this marsh would be really, really nice too. There's actually potential farm triangle here and then another 2 farms here with like a commercial hub. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could get all 6 of the farms here in the capital, which I think I am going to do. Even though ideally this would be a production center. Being able to turn this into a farming center too kind of works, because the higher population in here can kind of be converted into any resource that you want. They're going to opt to get the 6 farms in here. Now, if I conquer someone who has farms, I don't quite need so many, but just for the sake of getting the feudalism bonus, because like this is a lot of culture, right? 40% of 300 is about 120 culture. So building 6 farms in the city is pretty valuable. Now you could make an argument that getting rid of this wood style is pretty, not cool, but we're just making the executive decision to focus on food in the city because of the situation that we want to get the feudalism and so on and so forth a little bit faster. Okay, there's games and recreation. And now we are working on military training. But I'm going to call that the end of the episode. We've made significant progress towards our goals of going to war. I'm going to hide you in Kul Oba. You're going to go there. Let's go ahead and quickly finish up this. So we're finished. We don't need any more army than this for now, right? We know we have like a much bigger army than these guys. We could judge that. And we know that we are a human so that we can manage our army much better than an AI will ever be able to manage their army. So we have no fear for what the AI has in store for us. I'm going to not attack there. I will send an archer up there. This trader now can trade with looking for envoys. So for example, I could trade with Valletta. High probability that this gets pillaged if I do this. However, trading with Valletta would mean that the next envoy that I get, I can use, and I'm getting an envoy here at military training, to become suzerain of Valletta, which will give me the ability to turn faith into city center and encampment district buildings, which would be pretty nice. It would also give me an extra production boost in my barracks and stables from having the third envoy in that city-state. Anyway, I'm going to call that the end of the episode here. Hope you guys are learning new things. And, you know, as always, just throw some questions in the comments, all that sort of stuff. I love you all very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.